Welcome back to my channel. My name is Jocelyn, and for today's topic, I'm going to provide you the latest U.S. travel restrictions effective March 10th. The CDC, or Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, rescinded the requirements for negative pre-departure test or documentation of recovery for air passengers traveling to the U.S. from China. This means that starting March 10th, air passengers will no longer need to get tested or show documentation of recovery prior to boarding a flight to the U.S. from China, Hong Kong, Macau, or through a designated airport. The designated airports included Incheon International Airport in Seoul, Republic of Korea, Toronto Pearson International Airport in Canada, and Vancouver International Airport also in Canada. What are the requirements for permanent residents and U.S. citizens going to the U.S.? First, valid U.S. passport for U.S. citizens, and it does not need to be valid for at least 6 months. For permanent residents, foreign passport that is valid for 6 months and green card. Also, customs declaration form and arrival card. If you are a non-U.S. citizen but you are an immigrant or migrating to the U.S., here are the requirements. Foreign passport that is valid for 6 months, valid visa, CDC attestation form, check the latest requirements, customs declaration form, and then arrival card. If you are a non-U.S. citizen and you are not an immigrant, here are the latest requirements. Foreign passport that is valid for at least 6 months. Valid visa even for transit passengers. Proof of vaccination or covered exemption from COVID vaccination. Also, CDC attestation form, customs declaration form, and also arrival card. So these are the requirements. Now, who needs to be fully vaccinated to travel in the U.S.? Required for non-U.S. citizen, non-immigrant passengers arriving from a foreign country to the United States by air. Also, K-1 visa holders are considered as covered individuals. If you are not fully vaccinated against COVID-19, you will not be allowed to board a flight to the U.S. unless you meet the criteria for an exception under the proclamation and the CDC's amended order. Also, a booster shot is not needed to meet this requirement. You are considered fully vaccinated to travel to the U.S. if you are fully vaccinated 2 weeks after your dose of an accepted single-dose vaccine, or 2 weeks after your second dose of an accepted 2-dose series, or 2 weeks after you received the full series of an accepted COVID vaccine in a clinical trial, or 2 weeks after you received 2 doses of any mix and match combination of accepted vaccines administered at least 7 days apart. Now, what are the acceptable vaccines in the USA for travel? For single dose, there are vaccines approved or authorized by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, or vaccines listed for emergency use or certain clinical trial. For example, Janssen and Convidecia. For 2-dose series, there are vaccines approved or authorized by the U.S. FDA, Pfizer, Moderna, Novavax, or vaccines for emergency use, Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, Covaxin, Covishield, Sinopharm, Coronavac, Novavax, and Covovax, and there's a certain clinical trial vaccine which is Medicago. Non-immigrants and seeking to enter the U.S. are required to show proof of being fully vaccinated before flight to the U.S. Otherwise, you will be denied entry or denied boarding. All foreign travelers must provide official vaccination documentation, and airlines will confirm that the last dose was at least 2 weeks prior to the travel date. There are also specific information regarding official documentation. First, the personal identifiers, such as your name or date of birth, must match the personal identifiers on the travel documents. You must also name the official source and the vaccine manufacturer and the date of vaccination. Now, how the 14 days are calculated. Your last dose must have been given a full 14 days before the day you board your flight to the U.S. Let's talk about the proof of vaccination that you can present when traveling to the US. There are several options or acceptable documents that you can present when boarding. Now, here are the list of acceptable proof of vaccination. You can present a verifiable record such as a digital or paper. As an example, you can present a certificate of vaccination with a digital QR code. Some examples are those issued by the United Kingdom or European Union. You can also present non-verifiable paper records such as a printout of COVID-19 vaccination record. Another proof of vaccination that you can present is unverifiable digital records. As an example, you can present digital copies of vaccination record or downloaded vaccine record or vaccine certificate from an official source. Immigrants to the US who are already green card holders are not required to get vaccinated. However, if you are applying to enter the US as immigrant, you are required to have a medical examination that includes a COVID-19 vaccination before issued an immigrant visa. Let's talk about the covered exceptions. Now, here are the exceptions for COVID vaccines for all non-citizens or non-immigrants. Individuals are persons on diplomatic or official foreign government travel. Also, children under 18 years of age. Also, persons with medical contraindications to COVID-19 vaccine. In addition, participants in certain COVID-19 vaccine trials, persons issued a humanitarian or emergency exception, also persons with valid visas except B1, B2 who are citizens of foreign country with limited COVID-19 vaccination. Also members of the U.S. Armed Forces or their spouse or children under 18 years of age. In addition, sea crew members traveling with a C1 and D non-immigrant visa, and persons whose entry would be in the national interest as determined by the Secretary of State or Secretary of Transportation. Now, if you fall under any of these exceptions, you will be required to attest that you are exempted from the requirement to present proof of being fully vaccinated against COVID-19. As a requirement, you will be tested with a viral test 3 to 5 days after arrival, and you will also self-quarantine for a full 7 days, and you will also self-isolate if you test positive. Let's say, for example, you are exempted from the COVID-19 vaccine. However, if you intend to stay in the US for longer than 60 days, you may additionally be required to attest that you agreed to be vaccinated against COVID-19 and you have arranged to become fully vaccinated within 60 days of arriving or as soon thereafter as is medically appropriate, unless you are too young to be vaccinated. Again, you are still required to get vaccinated within 60 days of arrival. Here's a copy of the latest CDC attestation form, which must be filled out by non-US citizens who are not immigrants. There are actually 5 pages in this form. All airlines must collect the passenger attestation on behalf of the US government. If you are a covered passenger, you will need proof of COVID-19 vaccination or proof of being accepted from the requirement to be fully vaccinated. There are specific exemptions. There is an age requirement who needs to fill out the CDC attestation form. Children below 2 years of age do not need to fill out the CDC attestation form, and the airline may board them without the form. Okay, so here is a portion where you must provide the attestation. You must print your first name and last name. So this is only applicable for non-US citizens who are not immigrants. Here are the specific exceptions for those not fully vaccinated. So you must provide proof of being accepted. First exception, diplomatic and official foreign government travel. Second exception, and the most common, child ages 2 to 17, also participant in certain COVID-19 trials, medical contraindication, humanitarian or emergency exception, valid non-immigrant visa holder, excluding B1, B2, and citizen of a country with limited COVID-19 vaccine availability, member of the U.S. Armed Forces or spouse or child 2 to 17 of a member of the U.S. Armed Forces, sea crew member on a C1 and D non-immigrant visa, and for person whose entry in the U.S. is in the national interest. Once you find what is applicable to your situation, put a check mark and then go ahead and scroll down and indicate your full name and then your signature. If you have any other questions or comments, please post them down below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Again, thank you guys for supporting my channel. And if you haven't liked this video, please give it a big thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. I always welcome new subscribers. Thank you guys for watching. I hope everyone is staying safe and have a great day.